Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Clerk, roll call, please.
Chairman Hull.
Present.
First Vice Chair Fogarty.
Present.
Second Vice Chair Speakman.
Present.
Representative Alzate. Present. Representative Barrows.
Present.
Representative Cardillo.
Present.
Representative Edwards. Representative Kazarian.
Present.
Representative Charlene Lima. Representative Stephen Lima. Representative Morales.
Present.
Representative Morgan. Representative Price.
Hello?
Representative Shanley.
Present.
And Representative Williams. That completes the attendance. You have a quorum.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and members of my distinguished colleagues. Welcome to the House Committee on Municipal Government and Housing. Today is Thursday, March 4th, 2021. Okay, we have two bills present in front of us before we go to holding that I wish to move. Bill number 5025, presented by Representative Newberry. Madam Chair,
I make a motion to approve House Bill 5025.
second. Roll call vote. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
House Bill 5025 has been moved for passage. Chairman Hull, what is your vote?
Yes.
First Vice Chair Fogarty, what is your vote?
Yes.
Second Vice Chair Speakman, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Alzate, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Cardillo, what is your vote? Representative Kazarian, what is your vote?
Oh, yes.
Representative Morales, what is your vote?
No.
Representative Shanley, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams, what is your vote?
Yes.
Your motion carries. Move passage.
Thank you. Bill is moved and passed. We will now move on to House Bill 5477 by Representative McLaughlin.
I move, Chair, I move passage of House Bill 5477. Second?
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
House Bill 5477 has been moved for passage by First Vice Chair Fogarty. Chairman Hull, what is your vote?
Yes.
First Vice Chair Fogarty, what is your vote?
Yes.
Second Vice Chair Speakman, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Alzate, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Barrows, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Cardillo, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Kazarian, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morales, what is your vote?
Yes.
Representative Shanley, what is your vote?
Yes.
And Representative Williams, what is your vote?
Yes.
Your motion carries.
Thank you. I now make a motion to hold the present bills that I present before you. House Bill 5407 by Representative Porterfield. I ask that we also hold House Bill 5427, Representative Place. I ask that we hold Bill 5480 by Representative Toban. I ask that we hold Bill 5586 by Representative Hull. I ask that we hold 5590 by Representative Nardone. I ask that we hold Bill 5632, Representative Ackerman. I ask that we hold House Bill 5688, Representative Serpa. Also, we hold Bill 5689, Representative Casey. And House Bill 5815 by Representative Hull.
Also House Bill 5821 by, no?
No.
Okay.
With those bills that I asked to be held.
Okay, I will second those bills to be held.
Roll call vote for the bills that I just asked to be held for further study.
With respect to House Bill 5407, 5427, 5480, 5586, 5590, 5632, 5688, 5689, 5815. There was a motion to move to hold these bills for further study. Chairman Hull, is that your vote?
Correct.
First Vice Chair Fogarty, is that your vote?
Yes.
Second Vice Chair Speakman, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Alzate, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Barrows, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Cardillo, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Kazarian, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morales, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Shanley, is that your vote?
Yes.
And Representative Williams, is that your vote?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And good afternoon, Representative Azanaro, would you please come forward on Bill 5478, Vice Chair? Hold on, let's get it moved first. And let's get it in motion first.
This is a resolution for an act relating to alcoholic beverages, retail licenses. It allows the Westerly Town Council to issue a Class B liquor license for premises located at 169 and 177 Main Street, despite its location within the proximity to a school church.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. This bill comes to us from the town of Westerly. There is a resolution for it, and there's been no opposition to this from the town of Westerly's people. And what it does, it allows the town of Westerly to issue a Class B liquor license for the premises located at 169 and 177 Main Street, despite the location within a proximity to a school or a church. And what happened to this is 200 feet, I believe it's 200 feet. It went in about 5 feet into the rear parking lot of St. Pius X Church, and they have no problem with this liquor license being allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any testimony? Hearing none. That concludes Bill 5478. Mr. Chairman, stay right there. We will move to a duplicate of Senate Bill 53.
So the Senate bill is again an act relating to the authorization of the town of Westerly to issue not to exceed $2 million in general bond obligation bonds, notes, and other evidence of indebtedness to finance the construction, renovation, improvement, alteration, repair, furnishing, and equipment of schools and school facilities in the town.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, this is a duplicate bill of the House bill that we passed last week, allowing Westerly to put on the ballot a $2 million request for school renovations and so on, repairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this bill, we will move this bill
I would appreciate that, sir.
Okay.
out of committee.
All right, so just this bill?
Just this bill.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve Senate Bill number 53.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Yep, aye. Roll call vote. Please excuse me.
It's okay. I'm used to it, too.
With respect to Senate Bill 53, there was a vote for a motion for passage. Chairman Hull, is that your vote?
Yes.
First Vice Chair Fogarty, is that your vote?
Yes.
Second Vice Chair Speakman, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Alzate, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Barrows, is that your vote? Representative Cardillo, is that your vote? Yes. Representative Kazarian, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morales, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Shanley, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams, is that your vote?
Yes.
Your motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members of the committee. Have a good night.
Good. We will now bring forward, is Representative Hawkins here?
She is. Corcoran?
Hawkins,
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
second vice chair.
Yes,
We will put into motion 5821.
5821. Yep, gotcha.
Put that in.
5821 is a bill by Representative Hawkins validating and ratifying the 2020 amendments to the Home Rule Charter of the Town of Smithfield. The hearing is open.
Any questions? Hearing none, we will move this bill for passage.
I move this bill for passage, Bill H5821.
Second?
Second.
Second, sure, yeah.
Okay, roll call vote.
There was a motion for passage of House Bill 5821 by Second Vice Chair Speakman. Chairman Hull,
Yes.
is that your vote?
Yes.
First Vice Chair Fogarty, is that your vote?
Yes.
Second Vice Chair Speakman, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Alzate, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Barrows, is that your vote? Representative Cardillo, is that your vote? Yes. Representative Kazarian, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morales, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morgan, is that your vote for passage on House Bill 5821? Representative Shanley, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morgan, with respect to House Bill 5821,
And if it gives you
it's
any
a
comfort,
motion for passage.
and Madam Clerk, for Representative Morgan, there are resolutions on this bill. We're just asking for your confirmation. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That moves that one. Okay, let's see. Done. Court for friend, would you please come forward, Representative? Put in the bill 5407. We will now move to House Bill 5407. First Vice Chair.
House Bill 5407 comes to us from Representative Cordovan. It's an act relating to taxation, levy, and assessment of local taxes. Representative Cordovan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. As the first vice chair said, I am here to introduce 5407. This bill, I think this is the third year that I've put this bill in. It has the support of the League of Cities and Towns. And the purpose of the bill, let me go back to that, is this would allow cities and towns to rely on their last evaluation for taxes assessed. What brought this up is that Portsmouth was sued in the middle of their 3-year assessment period. A homeowner brought them to court because property values had gone down, and the judge felt that the way the statute is now, it's unclear, and Portsmouth lost the case, had to reevaluate the home. So we are trying to fix that and make the statute more clear. Do you have any questions?
I do. Representative Cordovan, this is not just for your town, this is for the whole
No,
state.
this is for the whole state,
Right.
right? Any town could be affected by this.
Right, so
Right.
I'd rather see it be an enabling legislation because every other town might be in a different circumstance. I know the League of Cities and Towns, but it gets very tricky when you have these types of taxation because
It
when you're
doesn't say that a town can't assess more frequently. It just says that the last assessment is what will be honored. So if a town is on a yearly cycle, there's nothing in here that prevents that. Does that answer your question?
So really what will happen is if it stays, even if your house is appraised at a certain number, say it's a lower number, and then the tax rate can be recessed, the mill rate can be reassessed in the year of taxation, so your mill rate may go up. It can be, I can see this causing some issues for certain cities and towns. I know on my town, when I was on the town council, your mill rate's going to go up because you always need a certain number of money to run your town, whatever it's going to be, whatever the X
Right.
is. So
that's
even if you
based
say your
on-
house is valued at this rate, your tax rate is still going to be adjusted to make the amount of money that a town needs to run. So I'm just a little concerned that it's, I'd like to see what other towns would have to say about that. I know the League of Cities and Towns might have been okay with that, but other towns might not. That
Okay.
doesn't represent everybody
Yeah.
as a whole.
And I did put in a resolution too from the town
Yeah,
of
from your
Portsmouth.
town. I saw, we saw that on
Yeah.
the thing. All right, I was wondering about
Okay.
that. I'd like to talk with my
Perhaps there's
town
some
manager
other-
about that.
Perhaps there's some other witnesses that are going to testify that we can address that
All
issue.
right.
Has anybody signed up to speak at all?
I have the witness sheet that just says that they're pro. This is the written testimony.
Okay.
I don't see any call-in on 5407. Oh, there is? Oh, it's in the other pile. I'm sorry. Yeah. The chairman is not handing over the piles as he should. All right, so maybe that quiestion will be answered. So right now, we have Ryan Helford, the tax assessor from Portsmouth is pro. Christopher Layden, the tax assessor from Warren is pro. Peter Schaefer from the finance director from the city of Warwick. Looks like he's pro. Brian Daniels from the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns is pro. And so for our first caller, we have,
Madam Clerk, who do you have on the line?
Brian Daniels.
Brian Daniels, okay. Mr. Daniels, welcome.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, we're on Rep. Cordovan's House Bill 5407.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to testify. My name is Brian Daniels. I'm the Executive Director of the League of Cities and Towns, and want to express the League's strong support for this legislation. This is a priority for our members. Representative Fogarty, to your question, my understanding is that this has broad support, not just for the League, but also the Assessors Association. I believe there's going to be the Portsmouth assessor who's calling in as well. But I'll explain in a minute why, but this is a strong impact on all cities and towns. Representative Corcoran explained the background really well. I just wanted to remind members on the committee that the way the property tax valuation process works, that cities and towns are required by law to update, to do a full valuation followed by an update 3 years later and an update 3 years after that. So there's a 3-year cycle, and they have to use those property valuations to set their tax rate, and that's how they determine what the property tax levy is. As Representative Corcoran said, there was a case during the Great Recession where people challenged their property taxes because the market values had declined during the recession, and because of ambiguity in the state law, the Supreme Court ruled on a 3-2 vote in favor of the plaintiffs. Now, that essentially means that in a down market, you can expect a lot of property owners to challenge their property tax assessments on an annual basis. So this is why it affects all cities and towns, not just Portsmouth. But as Representative Corcoran had mentioned, they have to use the 3-year, cities and towns have to use the 3-year valuations when setting the property taxes. They can't go higher unless there's a particular change, but I think all of them are using the 3-year cycle. So they have to use the 3-year valuation. That means that cities and towns get all the downside of, and none of the upside of a rapidly changing real estate market. And so basically Representative Corcoran's bill just restores the previous standard, saying that property tax appeals have to be based on the 3-year valuation. It's something we're paying close attention to with the COVID recession, because if the commercial property values go down, cities and towns are going to be flooded with these appeals. That's going to have substantial legal costs. And if any of those appeals are successful and the taxes are not collected, then what we expect to see is a shifting on the residential property tax owners. And at a time when Rhode Islanders are struggling, we don't want to burden them any further. So longer term, we think that we need to take a look at how we do property tax valuation. Governor McKee had supported a study commission in the past to see if we should go to annual valuations. That's something we would be open to, but we think, at least in the interim, we need to restore the standard that's been in place since 1997. So happy to answer any questions, and we strongly support the legislation.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you answering the questions. Again, my mindset was at the values of what we're having now for houses versus in the recessional years. But you answered my questions. I understand what you're saying, and I get what you're saying about commercial property and what's going to happen with COVID. We have to certainly look at that because, again, the residentials will get hit with that if there's a problem. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Daniels? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. We appreciate your testimony.
Great. Thank you so much for hearing the bill.
No problem. All right. Next, we have Matthew Helfand, who's from the town of Portsmouth. He is in support. Mr. Helfand? Mr. Helfand? Matthew?
I'm here.
Okay. Well, the floor is yours here at the House of Municipal Government and Housing. So,
Okay.
on House Bill 5407 by Representative Cordovan.
Okay. Is there a delay? Because I was listening to Mr.
Yeah.
Daniels speaking.
Yep, but we have you, so you can start speaking right now.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm Matt Helfand. I'm the tax assessor from the town of Portsmouth, and I am in support of House Bill 5407. The key points this bill it's going to address the current ambiguity and conflicting statutory provisions in Rhode Island general law, which the Supreme Court felt needed to be addressed in this court case. Two, it clarifies and reflects the intent of the General Assembly when they enacted the legislation in '97 in regards to the revaluation and tax appeal process. Three, it validates and authorizes the past practices of Rhode Island assessors since the 1997 legislation. And fourth, and most importantly, it evens the playing field and restores fairness and equity in the tax appeal process. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Are there any questions for Mr. Helfand? No. Hearing none, thank you very much for your testimony, and I will turn it back to the chair, and we can close the hearing.
Yep, if there's no more questions, we will close the hearing. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Representative Morgan, before we go forward.
Yes, Chairman. I'd like to be marked in the affirmative on H5025, H5477, and S53, please.
So recorded.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's one last thing that before we move on, when Representative Azanero was here, we were supposed to move this bill, his bill 5478.
Go to finance on a bill. I'll be right back.
I now ask that we have a second.
Second. Oh, second.
Second, okay.
Yep, sorry.
First and second, and now we ask for a roll call vote.
There was a motion to move House Bill 5478 for passage. Chairman Hull, is that your vote?
Yes.
First Vice Chair Fogarty, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Alzate, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Barrows, is that your vote? Representative Cardillo, is that your vote? Yes. Representative Kazarian, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morales, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Morgan, is that your vote? Yes. Representative Shanley, is that your vote?
Yes.
Representative Williams, is that your vote?
Yes.
That completes the roll call vote. You have a move for passage.
Thank you.
Carries.
We now move on to Representative Ackerman's bill 5632, First Vice Chair.
Representative Ackerman's bill, House Bill 5362,
5632.
Kathy, is your mic on? Kathy, make sure your mic's on, too.
There it is. 5632, I apologize, Representative, is an act relating to towns and cities zoning ordinance and requires cities and towns to allow tiny homes to be used as accessory dwellings and units to be counted as affordable housing. Representative Ackerman.
Thank you, chairs, and thank you, colleagues. Right now, all over our country, there's a movement to scale down for material or environmental reasons. Sometimes a family member wants to be close to their loved ones. The tiny house is a great option for any of these reasons. But what House Bill 5632 actually does is allow a tiny house to be used as an accessory dwelling unit. This, of course, is subject to all local zoning laws, building codes, et cetera, that's already allowed for an accessory unit. It also allows for these tiny houses to be counted towards the affordable housing stock. I know that this bill has a lot of people asking a lot of questions, and I know there's a lot of concerns, and this is just to get this discussion started. And so I'm hoping that we have a lively discussion on this, and if anybody has any questions,
Okay. Anybody have any
feel
questions?
free to.
Representative Williams?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'm not sure if it's a question directed to you, Representative, but it is a concern of mine based on what has been happening in the urban communities with these tiny homes. They're not being properly used, marketed, and presented in the way that it may be being presented here today. Not to say that we are being misled by the representative, but what has already taken place with these tiny homes in my district has been a disservice. It's clearly, as far as some of the residents that have presented their concerns to me, part of gentrification, part of keeping families in a particular areas in the city, no opportunity of wealth, growing wealth. And it's okay if these tiny homes are going to be designated to be built in East Greenwich, in Foster Gloucester, in Barrington, but in the urban city, what's needed are not these tiny homes for the purposes that I mentioned, and what's needed is single-family and multifamily houses in our neighborhoods, in our cities. That is going to eliminate the problem, because these tiny homes in our areas are causing a distrust, a misrepresentation, and it's not kosher at this particular moment. Like I said, it's nothing to do with the representative and the speaker. It's what is going on that for many is believed to be shady. And that's what I have to say.
And if I may, Representative, this is open for discussion to get the discussion started. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
This is to get the discussion started.
Right.
Correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, I see
Oh, wait. So if it's for discussion, why doesn't it go into a commission? Because it doesn't seem like anybody else, maybe Representative Alzate, and a discussion.
Let's allow,
Right, so these tiny houses already exist in some places. What this is doing is saying for cities and towns like mine, or maybe some other suburban towns, they're already, I know in Middletown, they're very, very popular. This allows for them to be counted as an accessory unit. So it's not saying, we're not saying that, we're allowing them to be built just for the sake of being built or anything. They have to, in the local zoning code, it allows for an accessory use. Like they have in-law apartments, those types of things, other accessory uses. This will be another accessory. The definition will include a tiny house as an accessory use.
I understand all of that, but what you just said does not say it does not, this bill does not specify those particular areas. What I see this bill will do is give the CDCs the right to come and put these tiny homes in the places that single-family homes or multi-home dwelling could be put. It is quite evident, yes, we too have some tiny homes in our neighborhoods. And they're not working out properly, and they're not being marketed clearly to the potential buyers. Trust when I tell
I
you.
believe you. And again, these are subject to all local zoning and building. So it sounds to me like maybe there's some of that not being checked out.
No, that's
I'm
not
not-
it. It's all being done legally.
Okay.
It's all legit, following all the rules. What I'm saying is, this is an opportunity to only build these tiny homes, and those are the only options that these families who are eager and willing and eligible to purchase these things have. That's the only choices. When in fact, that piece of land, they could build a single-family house or a multi-family house. So it's just going to infiltrate, it's only going to give permission to come in and put these tiny things all throughout our places, when in fact it's going to be a disservice to the families that are eager to purchase their own piece of property.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. It was my interpretation that these would be accessory. This is accessory, so there's already something there. So if your in-law or your loved one wants to move in on the same lot, they can build a tiny house.
Okay. We'll move on we'll get to Representative Elzate's question, and we can come back to Chairwoman Williams if she has follow-up.
It's always really hard to go after Chairwoman Williams, but, so I love that we are talking about this. I like the idea of the tiny houses. I love that we're starting this conversation because it's really important. So I congratulate you for, leading this conversation with this and the leadership as well. I do have concerns as well, because when we start to talk about affordable housing, in my experience, not a lot of people necessarily understand what that actually means. And we have to be careful about calling whatever, buildings, apartments, tiny houses, because they're not being marketed that way, and they're being marketed towards people who can afford regularly priced homes. And so, and one of the testimonies that we are seeing is, and this is happening in all of the state, is these small apartments are being built, but they're being sold to people out of state who might, who can afford a regular home. And and I just don't want us to get caught up in that. I want us to make sure that if we are building affordable housing, that it's going to go to the right people, and we put them all over the state, not just in my community or your community. We put it up and down the state for everybody so that we can all live there. So that was it. Yeah. Thank you.
Representative Morgan.
Yes, thank you for coming up with this proposal. I just wondered if you could define what you think a tiny house is. I mean, is there a particular square footage?
Yes.
Right?
There's a lot of literature out on it now, because there is actually what is called a tiny house movement that is sweeping the nation. And from everything that I've read, they tend to be on average about 400 square feet. I know the ones that are built down in Middletown are 300 square feet. It's hard to believe that these actually have multiple bedrooms, and some of them have more than one bathroom. They actually are just small houses, just small functioning houses, but have all the same amenities that you'd find in a larger family home.
All right, and are you proposing that there would only be one of these allowed on any lot associated with the larger home? I mean, it's not like they could buy a lot and put 4 or 5 of these on the same lot, correct?
Again, it would be subject to local zoning codes, so if the zoning allows for it, you know,
Okay.
they would have to decide locally in the local communities how they want this.
So every town is going to have to make their own zoning.
Right, so this basically gives them the ability to decide how they want to address this, or it's more enabling in a way. It allows, and it gives them more clarification, because cities and towns, some cities and towns are already doing this, but they need some more clarification.
Okay, and then is it just, so in many towns, I think, an accessory unit, a mother-in-law, you know, an in-law apartment, it really has to be a family member. So what was being mentioned by Representative Mazzante is it's a family member. This can't be somebody from out of state who just wants a tiny little house to, you know, come and vacation in. It really has to be a permanent, you know, someone who lives there
Right, so
full-time.
this is different than the actual like
I mean,
tiny
it's-
house communities that are already cropping up in different parts of the state. This is different. That's already happening on leased land. There's leased land that are allowing so many tiny houses on them. This is different. This is to allow it to be an accessory unit on a parcel of land.
It has to be a member of the family, a relative.
It doesn't say
Oh, it
that.
depends on what the
You know,
zoning
and
board-
again, this is a work in progress. This is not set in stone. I wanted to get this discussion going, and I'm very happy to hear that a lot of people have very important opinions on this. So thank you.
Oh, Morales hasn't. Sorry, not me.
Yeah, thank you, Representative. So again, just to be part of this conversation and going forward with it, you've mentioned and elaborated that the idea is this would be for accessible dwelling units. And while I agree with the principle of being able to develop more and providing more options to families, I become concerned about being able to label these tiny homes, which are accessible dwelling units, as a part of quote-unquote affordable housing. I think we're at a point right now where as a state, we need to start investing in multifamily homes or more dense housing. And I can see this, although it is enabling legislation, as a way for certain communities to circumvent the 10% affordable housing level in which they are to meet, and instead start investing towards tiny homes, which in themselves aren't necessarily always accessible to working people, because as someone who has studied tiny homes for several years, I'm a tiny home fanatic myself, they're not very accessible. They tend to be, unfortunately, a bit costly, and you need to have certain resources in order to even develop them and access one to begin with.
It hasn't been my understanding from the literature that I've read that they're expensive at all. And I've heard different things in different areas that can cost upwards of maybe $60,000. In some circumstances, much less than that. So again, it's from community to community. And so,
Okay, we have people on the phone, correct?
First, we will go to Troy Lang, and he is opposed to this legislation. Mr. Lang?
No,
Hello?
they're not very accessible. They tend to be...
Hello? Mr. Lang? Yes, if you could turn down the TV or whatever, or your computer.
Yeah.
And so you are speaking to the House Committee on Municipal Government about House Bill 5632. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Troy Lang. I am an attorney recently admitted for practice here in Rhode Island. I'm currently a law clerk at the Superior Court. I'd like to testify, I guess, sort of in opposition to HB 5632. I had one concern, but I'd like to echo the concern of Representative Williams that I hadn't even thought of. I live in Smithfield, so, I'm picturing everybody with kind of bigger lots and, more space. So I can see that the intent behind the bill is to allow for the tiny homes to be kind of a secondary structure on lots. And the bill would need to be amended in its current state in order to actually serve that. What I wanted to speak about was, the feed is a little behind, so I was unfortunately not able to catch the entirety of the statement by the last representative who spoke, who I think he was getting to this point. In Section 3 of the bill, it states, in the way that it adds subsection 9.2 to Section 4552.3, it says that tiny homes will be considered to be a part of, affordable housing. I guess the problem with that is that it doesn't actually have any criteria for whether those homes are actually being, given to people who need affordable housing or whether the housing is actually affordable at all. As has been mentioned, these would not need to be, occupied by family members of anybody who is on, say, a primary structure on the property. So these could be rented to total strangers at a rate that isn't affordable, and yet the bill as it currently exists would say that that's still affordable housing. As of 2018, 33 of the 39 municipalities in Rhode Island were short of the 10% goal, for affordable housing, and 23 of those 33 communities hadn't even reached 6% affordable housing. So this is just kind of something that would allow them to paper over the cracks. Also in 2018, there were 4,000 people who at some point sought shelter because of experiencing homelessness. There were 1,500 students enrolled in Rhode Island schools that were classified as homeless. Those are two slightly different standards. But still, the need for actual affordable housing is pretty clear, especially with the loss of employment and employment interruptions that many people have experienced over the past year. So I'd really like to express the opposition to the sense that any tiny home, regardless of anything about it, whether who it's rented or sold to, or how much it actually costs to live there, really shouldn't be classified as affordable housing. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your testimony, sir. Next, we have a Bob Cooper. Mr. Cooper.
Yes. Bob Cooper, representing the Governor's Commission on Disabilities. The Commission has a major concern on page 10 of the bill. The bill on line 20 is striking language from the Fair Housing disability rights provisions. I'm not sure that was the intent of the sponsor, but the Commission believes that the phrase shall be permitted as a reasonable accommodation for family members with disabilities should not be deleted from the existing law. We don't understand why the bill as proposed is deleting all the references to the Federal Fair Housing Act. Listening to the discussion, I'm not reading the bill the same way the sponsor is in terms of making the tiny homes permissible. On line 18 of page 10, it actually reads, notwithstanding any other provisions of this chapter, the following shall be permitted. Not may, but shall. And because on the next page, page 11, right at the top, the tiny homes is not connected at all with the provision with regards to accessory family dwellings. It functions totally as a separate provision, and based on the lead-in sentence about shall be permitted, it overrides any zoning provisions adopted by municipal government. So from the Commission's standpoint, we want the fair housing language put back in on line 20 of page 10, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Cooper? Mr. Cooper, the sponsor has left, but this is going down into the record, so your points are well taken, and I'm sure they'll be reviewed. Again, this is just a discussion, really. Thank you for your comments. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have Melina Lodge from the Housing Network Rhode Island, and she is also opposed. Melina?
Yeah.
Melina. Melina, are you there? I think we lost her. Melina?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Okay, we thought we lost you. I'm very
nope,
sorry.
Still here.
All right, so you're from the Housing Network of Rhode Island, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Melina Lodge, and I represent the Housing Network of Rhode Island, which is the trade association for 17 nonprofit and community development organizations across the state who build much of the affordable housing in the state, and we represent about 15,000 affordable housing units within our portfolio. First off, I did submit written testimony, so I'll keep my verbal testimony somewhat brief. We can appreciate the desire of this bill to expand housing production and housing choice to all types of Rhode Islanders. The issue that is highly problematic for us within this bill is the inclusion of tiny homes as affordable housing by default. Currently under the Low and Moderate Income Housing Act, for a housing unit to qualify as affordable housing, it must meet 3 requirements. 1, that the property has received some type of subsidy, public subsidy. Secondarily, that the property will remain affordable for a certain length of time through a deed restriction. And thirdly, that the person who occupies, or persons who occupy the property, must meet a particular income bracket which is set during the planning process. So just counting things as affordable without any intentionality to achieving those three metrics, we find is a bit disingenuous in creating actual affordable housing that low-income Rhode Islanders can afford and access. We know about 52% of all households in Rhode Island earn less than about $62,650 per year for a household of 3 people. So we would really like to see units created as affordable, actually meeting the metrics of the Low Mod Act as defined under state law. So we don't have a problem with the concept of allowing tiny homes by right to increase housing opportunities. We would just like to see the language around affordability stricken from this bill so that we are not counting things that do not actually meet the intent of an existing law, which was designed to perpetuate the existence of deed-restricted affordable housing. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Melina? Did you? No? Any questions? Seeing none. Do you have questions? Okay. Okay, so there are no questions, Melina. Thank you for some very good points about affordable housing. And with that, we will move on to the next caller, which is going to be Belinda Clement. But if you would like to speak now, Representative?
Because they're tiny, they are affordable. And I think they should be. We know one of the real impediments for a lot of young people is they can't buy a full-sized house unless they save up money. If they can buy a tiny house and build up equity in that tiny house, keep it, well maintained so that they can sell it, maybe they can sell it for more, which would be great. Then they can do the things that I did when I was, when I was first starting out. I started out in a starter home, right? It was about 1,000 square feet. And I built up equity, and then I was able to move to a larger home. So this fills that gap, I think, for those young people who are, you know, just getting into their first job or whatever. They need a starter home. And this is an excellent, I really think it's an excellent idea to bridge that gap between, because a lot of builders out there are not building the starter homes anymore. You know, the cost of land is so expensive that they're not. And I also think
Stash, Representative
Chairman Williams, I wanted to call you Stash, but, right. Your comments, as long as it is subject to the zoning laws and ordinances of the municipality, that's where you get your control about where it can be and how many can be on a lot, and you know, those kinds of things, whether it has to be a relative or it can be a, you know, just somebody who needs something that's not $200,000. And I think as long as it's subject to municipal control, it makes a lot of sense. I think it fills a real gap that's there for a lot of young people.
Beat a horse. Okay, as we know, the bill needs a lot of work. Nice observation. I understand the observation here. The only problem I have is getting people stuck in a little home and they can't get anywhere else. So with that said, we will move on to the next caller.
All right, so, again, Brenda Clement? Brenda, are you with us?
I am.
And if you could turn down your computer?
Yep, I'm just doing that right now. Sorry, monitoring a couple of hearings.
Okay. So Brenda is from Rhode Island Housing Works, and you have the floor here at the House Committee of Municipal Government.
Good evening, members of the committee, and good evening, Chairman Hall and other members of the committee. And I'm here to talk about House Bill 5632. We were in the housing community very pleased with the majority, the speakers focused earlier this week about the importance of housing and housing issues for this session, in this session. And we look forward to working with many of you on many of the bills that he put forward. I also want to thank Representative Backelman who introducing this bill around tiny homes. But and while in general we agree that increasing the supply of our housing stock and diversifying our housing stock is critical in order to meet the needs, we do have some specific concerns about some of the language in the bill, particularly about counting these towards the 10% goal of communities. As we said in our testimony, the tiny houses, again, are a good concept in terms of trying to increase the supply, but by including them or allowing them to be counted towards the 10% goal, we're not necessarily adding greatly to the housing stock. Similarly, other types of homes like mobile homes and our older stock of more modest homes in certain communities could fit within that definition. And if we just, and so we would potentially be opening up a door that would allow those also to be counted towards the 10% goal. And that would also not help us increase the supply if we're just already counting what we already have. So, but, you know, we like the concept. We like the idea of increasing housing stock, increasing the different types of housing in the state, and look forward to working with the committee and the bill sponsors to find other incentives or other ways that we can help communities work towards their goal. There's no doubt, and hopefully you've seen our annual fact book, and we've sent you some copies before, over a third of Rhode Island households are cost burdened or spending more than a third of their income on housing costs. This is not new. This has been a long-standing problem in the state. Since 2007, most of our housing stock was built, over half of our housing stock was built prior to 1940. since 2000, we've only added about 35,000 units total, which is just simply not enough to keep up with demand. So I applaud the speaker and the bill sponsor for looking for new and innovative ways to increase the stock. As we said, we've got some concerns with some pieces of the language in the bill, but would look very much like to work with you to strengthen the bill and find other ways to help communities get towards that 10% goal. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you, Brenda. Are there any questions for Brenda? Chairwoman Williams.
Thank you. Brenda, you've been around for quite a while with regards to, no, respectfully, not meaning, shade or nothing, but you've been around in the neighborhoods and knowing what the needs are with regards to homes and home ownership. And certainly, these tiny homes is not the fit as you and others may believe that it is in our communities. It certainly is, let me rephrase that. It is for a particular group of individuals that would come in and make those purchases, and or some families of color that would feel that this will be the only way of achieving home ownership. So with that being said, I'm not against the intent of this bill being utilized, and you can get your 10% in, like I said, Foster, Gloucester, Barrington, East Greenwich, and those other places, because of the fact of building family homes in those areas for people of color has been not in my backyard for years. So this is like to say, not in our backyard, these tiny houses. We need multi-family houses or a single-family house that will provide us. You know that our family sizes are definitely large sizes based on the family unit generally live together in order to be able to afford the rent, the mortgage, or whatever it is. So putting up these tiny houses because, it's the new fad since 2007 or whenever, it may be good. But you need to be able to not just listen to yourselves, but hear what the community is saying that is needed. Not just because it be affordable. We can make it affordable for those. Yeah, you will be making it affordable, but you're not going to be making it productive for a person that needs a sizable, and it doesn't have to be huge, because we can look at swaps properties. They're not huge, but they're very accommodating. So that's what needs to happen. And I'm asking you to think about those things, because I'm definitely will be totally against this, and I will campaign against it if it doesn't get fixed. Thank you.
Yeah, so Representative, if I may, first of all, thank you for your great leadership on source of income, because that's one more tool in our tool belt to address discrimination. But I share many of your same concerns around tiny homes, which is why I think the bill needs further work and further study as well, too. You're absolutely right that home ownership and home ownership opportunities in our area, in our neighborhoods, in our communities is desperately needed. The Black and Latino home ownership rates in our state are quite frankly dismal at 33% and 29%, half the rate of white home ownership rates. We also have to be very careful to make sure that we don't encourage or result in displacement and gentrification and other things as we build and develop. So, but all of these need to be part of a thoughtful process, and be part of a overall plan about how we increase the supply. I think, and I don't want to speak for the bill sponsor or certainly the speaker, but I think that was the intention, was that we know we've got a problem, we've got a big problem, and what can we do, and what can we do that may be different to increase the stock of housing. And that I do support. How, the devil's in the detail. You're absolutely right, Representative, and how we get to that and how we make sure that everybody benefits from it is what we need to talk through more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to the floor.
So next we will go to David Salvatore. Mr. Salvatore?
Yes.
Okay, if you could turn down your computer, and you have the floor here at the House Committee on Municipal Government.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is David Salvatore. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Rhode Island Association of Realtors. Just please allow me to begin by saying that RIAR is deeply appreciative, one, of many of the comments that have been made tonight about the need for more housing supply throughout Rhode Island, and secondly, the House's commitment to addressing housing throughout our entire state. I don't think it can be overstated that Rhode Island has faced a housing crisis for decades, and that crisis is growing by the year, by the month, and by the day. So thank you all for your commitment to this endeavor. RIAR wants to thank Representative Ackerman and Speaker Shekarchi specifically for this bill in really thinking outside of the box, if you will, in introducing 5632. As you know, the legislation would define the term tiny home in the Rhode Island accessory dwelling unit law, while requiring municipalities to allow for this new, relatively new trend in housing. And, Representative Williams, Chair Williams is absolutely right. And I can speak specifically to Providence, but this is a statewide issue. We do need more single-family homes, and we do need more multi-family homes. Not only in Providence, but throughout Rhode Island. And what we've learned is that there's a lot of not in my backyard mentality when we start talking about a two-unit home in certain neighborhoods throughout the state. That's part of the problem when you look at the trend in home prices. Home prices are skyrocketing right now. Yes, it is a symptom of the current real estate market, but it's also a symptom of the lack of supply. And that lack of supply is driving up rents higher in Rhode Island than in many other states in localities throughout the Northeast and the country, for that matter. But we are pleased to know that help is on the way and that the Speaker and his team are taking this issue seriously. And by adding tiny homes to local zoning definitions, I think we're positioning ourselves to improve another housing tool that bolsters much-needed housing supply. Look, this is not going to be the single solution that solves our housing shortage. It's certainly going to diversify some of the housing stock that we have throughout Rhode Island. We think that's a positive step in the right direction. So, Chair, in 2020, we conducted a survey to learn more about what Rhode Island voters are thinking relative to housing in our state. And the poll revealed that over 60% of Rhode Island voters think there's too little housing for residents with low incomes, young people, and seniors. And when asked about housing costs, Rhode Island voters overwhelmingly view housing affordability as a big problem in our state. And I know that data isn't a surprise to any of you. In my written testimony, I point to data that was published by the Pew Research Center. And Pew learned that there is a growing number of family units included in multi-generational households. I was surprised to learn that 20% of people are living in multi-generational households. And like all of you, our members have been devastated to witness what has been going on throughout the pandemic. I'm blessed because I still live in the same two-family home that I grew up in Providence. And behind me is the home that my parents built. So not much changed for me in terms of being able to see my elderly parents throughout the pandemic. However, that wasn't the case for the majority of Rhode Islanders who have elderly loved ones. And it was heartbreaking to see, or not having these family members and loved ones having the ability to see their family during this very challenging time. But what we learned was a tiny home option on a single plot of land could have been a practical and safe housing option for seniors instead of residing in a costly assisted living facility. And that's not a knock at the assisted living facilities. Don't get me wrong, they do God's work, and they have throughout the entire pandemic. But again, talking about the lack of supply in housing throughout Rhode Island, we think that a tiny home solution could have been very practical during the pandemic if they were available to be built. And that's one of the reasons why we championed the accessory dwelling unit changes several years ago with the help of many of the housing advocates that spoke on this call today. So we think incorporating tiny homes, a strategy around it to combat homelessness or to provide transitional housing and to support new opportunities for veterans and seniors and all other vulnerable populations is exactly the common sense policy that Rhode Island needs. I should also mention that this new housing opportunity creates a pathway to home ownership. And Chair Williams is right. We don't want to view this option as an opportunity, if you will, for gentrification. We want to provide those disparities that Brenda mentioned earlier in terms of the home ownership gap in this country and this state. Again, we want to address it, and we think this could be a single solution. It's not the only solution to solve this issue. Look, our home ownership rate hovers around 60%, and we're on the lower side versus the rest of the country. So I think we have some work to do, and I'm sure all of you agree in terms of providing home ownership opportunities, especially in minority communities. So RIAR understands that this is, again, not a single solution that's going to eradicate homelessness or housing insecurity, but we do think it's a first step in exploring a tiny homes option. And, included in this discussion, I think, we have to talk about public perception and that small homes are not undesirable or low quality.
No, they're not. We totally agree with you on that.
We get you. We understand.
In fact, 66% of Rhode Island voters, think that changing zoning laws.
Councilman, if I may?
Yep.
The bill needs some work, and we're going to work on the bill. We understand where you're coming from, and we understand it quite well.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Salvatore.
Thank you.
And so, and just closing out with the witness sheet, we've had several of the people who've sent in, that have spoken, sent in their comments. We also had Maureen Margaret from Aging Community Subcommittee, who is con on the bill. Jordan Goyette from a Warwick resident was pro the bill. Jennifer Hawkins, One Neighborhood Builders, supports. Carol Ventura, Rhode Island Housing, was con. And Tony Simon, One Neighborhood Builders, is pro. And with that...
That concludes that hearing.
That concludes the hearing on House Bill...
5688.
No. Oh, is there something else?
No. What's the number?
And House Bill 5632. That closes the hearing.
That closes that. Let's move to Representative Serpa's Bill 5688. Representative Serpa. Second Vice Chair.
This opens the hearing on Bill 5688 by Representative Serpa, an act relating to Coventry Sewer Water Authority. Representative Serpa.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. House Bill 5688 is rather proactive in nature. Just to back up to page 1, back in 2006, the General Assembly passed a law allowing the town of Coventry to build sewers in the town. Well, that has begun with much controversy, unfortunately. Some of the prices that homeowners have gotten for the installation of sewers outside of their homes on their streets run from a low of $8,000, and I've heard some residents complain of $26,000. So in the bill, specifically on page 1, actually, lines 5, on line 5, the town of Coventry is authorized and empowered, and they can finance the construction of sewers. So what this bill is doing is requiring that the town not force the cost of the sewers onto the homeowner. In other words, add an additional cost of putting the sewers in front of their homes into the cost. So if it's $8,000, a low of $8,000, and fixing the road in front of that resident's house is $2,000, not making the cost of the sewers $10,000. The town of Coventry has I won't say a flush road construction fund, but they do have some money set aside for road construction. So we just, as legislators from Coventry, we just don't want them to bypass that construction fund and automatically bill the residents for the cost of these sewers. And I think you have Senator Raptakis and Councilman Jamie Messier from Coventry, who has been on the ground with this problem from day one. But I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can.
Vice Chair Fogarty? Representative Morgan? Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Serpa. This is an excellent bill. I know when Kent County Water puts in their water lines, they're upgrading all over the state right now. They're not charging the people who are getting the water for the pavement in front of their house. This is just fair. So it's a good bill.
Thank you. And there have been lots of problems in the town with lots of billings, much to the chagrin of the residents. So we don't want this to be another problem. So we want to cut it off at the pass, frankly, so to speak.
Vice Chair Fogarty?
I remember Coventry coming in front of us with the sewer when I was the chair of municipal government a few years back. Do you have a person in charge of the sewer commission there? I remember everybody was jumping ship. There was a lot of questions about finances. Has that all been rectified, I hope?
I hope so too, but we don't want them to use the taxpayers having sewers installed as part of the resolution of the problem. That's not going to happen, hopefully, if this bill passes.
I hope so. I really felt for the people of Coventry who came in and
Yes.
testified a few years ago. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Chairwoman Serpa? We have two written testimony. Jordan Goyette is against, and David Salvatore, with whom we just spoke, has no testimony but supports the bill. Is there anyone on the phone? No, we have no one on the phone. Unless there are other questions, that closes the hearing on 5688. Thank you.
Okay, now, we will move to my bill. 5815, by the University of Rhode Island, an act relating to the towns and cities and emergency police powers, authorizes higher education institutions, departments to enter into an agreement with any other cities and towns to provide assistance in a non-emergency situation. Basically, if they can use them, they want to be able to use them and enter into that agreement. It's simple, it's nothing hard to, and it was requested by the University of Rhode Island. It's a good bill. Any questions? Hearing no questions on the bill, I move that bill be closed and held. We have testimony. Okay, let's have the testimony. Chief Baker? I don't have Baker here. Oh. Mr. Baker?
Speaking.
You got the floor.
Thank you, Representative Holt. I'm Stephen Baker. I'm the Director of Public Safety and Chief of Police at the University of Rhode Island. I've been here for 16 years. I want to thank you for sponsoring this legislation and the entire committee for hearing the bill this evening. The intent of this proposed legislation is twofold. One, to include campus police departments, such as URI, as agencies that can enter into mutual aid agreements for non-emergency police powers. And number two, to eliminate the requirement that the agencies that want to enter into agreements be geographically adjacent to each other. For instance, at URI, we have a staff of 28 police officers with responsibility on all 5 campuses of the university. And on the Kingston campus, in a normal year, such as 2019, when we have commencement in May, we can expect 20,000 visitors on that Sunday for our undergraduate commencement. In 2019, we used 104 police officers from other police departments, including South Kingstown, North Kingstown, Narragansett, State Police, Capitol Police, CCRI, Charlestown, Hopkinton, Westerly, and Richmond. and we also use personnel from the State Fire Marshal's office. Under current law, campus police agencies cannot enter into mutual aid agreements for non-emergency situations such as commencement. The Rhode Island Police Accreditation Commission requires formal written MOUs between agencies in these types of situations. The only town that is adjacent to our Kingston campus would be South Kingston. It does not make sense to limit mutual aid to adjacent towns in a small state like Rhode Island. Police officers in every community are certified by the state. Every Rhode Island community should have the ability to utilize police officers from anywhere in the state to cover major events. I believe you have a letter from the Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association supporting this legislation. I have spoken with Colonel Manny from the state police. He also supports this legislation, as does the Rhode Island College and University Public Safety Administrators Division. So I'm asking you to move this bill. I think it's good for every police department in the state. I believe Chief Lynch from Bristol will be testifying also, as they have a very large event, the Bristol Parade. And again, this is for planned events. It's not for emergencies. We already have a bill that covers emergencies, but this would allow campus police to utilize officers from other parts of the state to help us with these major events. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, this is Representative Fogarty, who represents the university, and I just want to say thank you to you and the officers at the University of Rhode Island for this bill and for all the help that you have given South Kingstown. And we've had a very good relationship, as we call it, the town and gown relationship with the University of Rhode Island, with our police chiefs in the past and present. And again, just thank you for the work that you and the rest of the officers do at the university.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and we certainly appreciate the help from Chief Ewing, Chow, and all of South Kingston PD.
Thank you, Chief Lynch. Oh, hold on. Representative Morales. Hang on, could you hang on? We'll go with the chief. Chief, you have the floor. Chief Lynch.
Yes, good evening, members of the committee, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for introducing this important bill, not only for all of the police departments in Rhode Island, but also for higher education. I'd like to start off by saying what the bill isn't. I saw a submission that people were concerned that we were trying to expand police powers or to give us some additional authority in emergency situations. And as Director Baker eloquently stated, we already have that authority under the law. To give you why the bill is important to the town of Bristol, we have the oldest and the largest, 4th of July celebration with concert series, and certainly our prestigious parade that's held every year. So we have a community of 22,000 people, and on the 4th of July, on those weekends, we can see our capacity climb to 100,000 people coming to our small town to witness, what I would call a miracle parade. We need the services of the other law enforcement agencies to come help us with traffic control, security. We have a lot of dignitaries that come down to the parade, a lot of children, and you can imagine the emergency medical situations that we deal with. And having ample police officers, we have a 40-member police force, and during those days of the parade, we need well over 100 to 150 officers to provide the level of safety, security, and it's most importantly about traffic. So as the traffic leaves the parade or comes in, we have to shut the road down, shift it one lane to the other lane, and it really is critical. As we begin and look at all of the bills that are introduced this year relative to professional policing, as a nationally accredited and a state accredited agency, as the director stated, we need to enter into proper MOUs with outside agencies. Our sister agencies in Portsmouth and Warren are already at full capacity with what the parade does for traffic in their communities, and they can't send us any ancillary officers. So this would allow me to reach out to my alma mater like Cranston and different agencies in the state to bring in professional police officers to assist us during these specialty events. You know, it could be a college commencement, a parade. This is certainly not anything that's looking to expand authority of police or police powers, but those ancillary activities that we all have, where we have large crowds that come in, and they're not considered emergencies, because the law, as it's been stated, already covers that. This is for non-emergencies, so we can properly plan our events. And I believe the director testified that the Chiefs Association, the state police, and all of the chiefs think that this has a lot of value for us. And I thank the committee and the committee members, and I'll answer any questions that you have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Morales.
Thank you for your testimony, Chief. Would a peaceful student-led protest be considered a non-emergency situation?
In some of the protest situations, they have been considered an emergency, and chiefs have brought in others. So this would not be a situation. I think that would fall under the current statute of allowing your non-adjacent forces to come assist if there was intelligence that some information could lead it to an emergency situation. But that's not the intent of what we're looking to do. We're certainly not, I certainly would, if it was here in Bristol at a college or a university setting, would reach to the services of the state police because one of the things that would concern me as a chief is bringing, 17 or 18 different forces in to one event like that. I would want to restrict it to, the Bristol Police or the Rhode Island State Police. So that's not the intent of the bill, and that's not something I think that the chiefs at all are looking to do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Chief Lynch. It's June Speakman here.
Hi, June. How are you?
I'm good. I represent Bristol, and I work at the university that's in Bristol. So my question is...
Oh, we've met.
Yes,
we've met, and yep. And yes, I'm counting on some support because I need some help here in Bristol.
Allow her to speak, Chief.
So my question is, how does this change the relationship between the university's Department of Public Safety and the Bristol Police Department?
How does this change the relationship?
Yes. Can the university's public safety officers now help you in a way that they wouldn't have been able to before this bill?
Yes, they could send down staff, and I could use them in traffic situations. So if there was traffic backed up on Metacom Avenue or into Barrington and Warren, I could then enter into an agreement and hire them, kind of like when you see the detail officers that are out at construction sites and different things of that nature. Currently, the bill does not allow me to retain those services.
And then the other way, does this allow your department to have some kind of greater interaction with the university's public safety officers on campus?
No, not particularly, no. Okay. Other than a special event like the director and I stated where the services are just really needed for event-type planning.
Thank you.
This is really the intent of this. Both the director and I have worked on this. The intent really of this is for special occasions, a parade, a commencement. This has absolutely nothing to do. I saw some testimony that someone thought they were going to be concerned about, adding local officers, down to some of the state colleges. That's already allowed. We're not asking for that. In any type of an emergency situation, the police can respond if they're not an adjoining community, if there's a cry for help or a major event that has already been planned. This is really about getting that extra services.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much. That will conclude 5586. Thank you. We need to go back to Representative Serpa's bill, 5427. We have two phone calls. They will be brief. Or 5688. And would you please bring them up, please?
Sorry, I missed those.
Hello, is anybody there? names.
Yeah, Reptakis.
Oh, Senator Reptakis? Huh? Senator Reptakis? Hello?
Yes.
Oh,
Hello?
Senator, how are you?
Yes, yes, very good.
You have the floor.
Great. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much for the opportunity to testify. I'm in favor of Representative Serpa's Bill 5688. And this bill genesis is from the Auditor General's report on March 2019, which the General Assembly, both the Senate and House, authorized the AG to look at the Coventry sewer program. In 2019, we passed one of the major recommendations of the Auditor General's report, and on the bill in front of you this evening, on page 3, line 24, starting with the word the town of Coventry, ending in line 28, is the first bill that we had passed 2 years ago. Last year, because of COVID, we could not entertain another major recommendation of the Auditor General, which is on page 20, line 28 through line 30 on the same page, was forcing the town of Coventry not to charge the paving costs. And those costs run anywhere between $5,000 and $6,000. The previous recommendation was the issue where the town would borrow the money at 4% and then charge the owners another 6% on top, which was another $5,000 to $8,000. So this is a tragedy, because a homeowner doesn't ask the town to install a sewer line. They're forced in front of their homes, and you're talking about low-income homes, that they have to pay the assessment. And these assessments are anywhere up to $35,000. And when you're forcing someone with a low income to pay not only the interest rates above and beyond what the town was borrowing the money from the infrastructure bank, but also paying for the paving costs. So if you live in a street other than where a sewer line is being installed, you don't pay for the paving costs, because that is done by the city or town. And this bill should not only be a Coventry bill, I think it should be a statewide bill to force municipalities not to charge homeowners, especially in these streets in Coventry. We're talking about low-income families that cannot afford a $33,000 sewer assessment forced upon them. So this bill gives them relief. It's part of the recommendation of the Auditor General, and I thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
All right, thank you, Senator Reptakis.
We have one more on the phone.
Yeah, and there's one more. Any questions for Senator Reptakis? Nope, hearing none. We have one more caller.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Hello, caller. Could you state your name for the record? Hi. Caller, can you state your name for the record?
James LeBlanc.
Okay, Mr. LeBlanc, you have the floor here on House Bill, on Senator Serpa's, House Representative Serpa's bill.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to give my testimony in favor of House Bill 5688. My name is James LeBlanc. I am a Coventry resident, and for the past 4 years, I have been working with Representative Serpa and Senator Reptakis, along with the rest of the Coventry delegation, in an attempt to address the significant issues associated with Coventry's sewer program. I was recently elected to represent the constituents of District 3 on Coventry's Town Council, and I just want to note that I am giving the testimony that I am giving tonight is my own commentary, and should not be construed as the opinion of the Town Council. I would like to thank Representative Serpa, Chippendale, Norrie, Nardone, and Morgan for introducing this bill. As you know, this bill adds one sentence to the legislation, but it's an important one. It removes the ability of the town to assess homeowners for the cost of repaving the roadway upon completion of the sewer works within town. There are 3 specific reasons why this bill is so important. First, during 2020, the prior town council approved and the town issued sewer assessments to Coventry homeowners on the street in which I live that were in the range of $26,626 to $62,128. Please note that this is only the sewer assessment. It does not include the interest that will be charged on the assessments on an annual basis, the cost to connect one's home to the sewer line, the cost to decommission a homeowner's current septic system, nor does it include the sewer usage fees that will be charged once connected. Second, due to the work of Senator Raptakis, Representative Serpa, and the Coventry delegation and myself, Rhode Island's Attorney General, Mr. Dennis Hoyle, and his team completed a review of Coventry's sewer program. The report was issued in March 2019, almost 2 years ago. There were 18 specific recommendations, but one that specifically stated total project costs allocated to homeowners adjacent to the sewer line extension can include street repaving costs, police details, and at times extraordinary costs, which increase the actual construction costs. These costs could, his report says, that these costs could be excluded from the calculation to reduce the cost of the sewer assessment. In my opinion, it's desperately needed. Third and last, when the town decides to pave a non-sewer related street, they do not hand those homeowners road paving assessments. So why should the town be able to include road paving costs in the sewer assessments that they hand to homeowners? I just want to state that this bill will attempt to protect Coventry residents from the astronomical sewer assessments, and that is why I fully support it.
Okay, well,
Thank you for listening to my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Are there any questions for Mr. LeBlanc? Nope. Okay.
That concludes
Yep.
5688.
So that concludes 5688. Thank you.
Let's move on to my bill, 5586. It's an act relating to the taxation of property to the taxation exempt to include the real and tangible personal property of St. John the Baptist de La Salle, DBA La Salle Academy, a Rhode Island domestic nonprofit corporation located in Providence, Rhode Island, on the list of properties exempt from taxation. Let me be quite clear, first of all, for the people that are listening. I am a La Salle graduate. I'm honored to take this bill on. And I know there's some talk about, or what you'll hear this evening, about what's actually happening or what's going on. And we have people that'll be on the phone to tell you exactly which actually took place. What took place is that the property didn't really transfer. It was still in the diocese. The diocese nonprofit Catholic institution turned over to another Catholic institution in the diocese. It was just a technical transfer, but there was a sale for $1. So what LaSalle is trying to do now is just rectify what's already in place, not to expand its footprint, but to continue what is already in place now. And we'll go to the phones now. I think Brother Malloy is on the phone, and he'll go forward with that. Thank you. Brother Malloy.
Brother Malloy?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you have the floor at the House Committee on Municipal Government.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good evening, Chairman Hall and committee members. I'm Brother Dennis Malloy, and I'm privileged to be the president of LaSalle Academy. And the last time I appeared before this committee was Thursday, March 12th, just about a year ago. And the next day, things just, March 13th happened. I want to give you a little bit of a quick thumbnail sketch of LaSalle. Currently, we have 1,500 students. 1,300 of them are in the high school, and we have 200 of them in the middle school. And our students come from 35 Rhode Island cities and counties, cities and towns. And 120 of our students are from Massachusetts and Connecticut, and we have 15 youngsters from China with us. We're a school of great socioeconomic diversity as well as rich racial and cultural diversity. Currently, our number of students of color and 25% of our students from all over the world and all over the state. Our tuition is $15,975, and 48% of our students receive significant tuition assistance. And that's 48% translates to 623 kids. And our average award is $6,200, and the range is from $1,500 to $1,300. So what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is
I hope you received the documents that we forwarded to you earlier in the day. The pages are numbered, so we can go through this. I'll go through it as quickly as possible. What I tried to do also was to highlight in yellow really the salient points, and you can come back to them. But in 1871, 150 years ago, LaSalle was opened by the diocese on Fountain Street in downtown Providence. And 93 years ago, 97 years ago, 6 years ago, the school opened up, the new campus opened up here in 612 Academy Avenue. There are three acts I want to take a look at right now. They're acts from 1902, 1910, and 1925. And the first act is a special act of the legislature that established LaSalle Academy as a Rhode Island nonprofit corporation to maintain an Academy of Learning. In 1910, there was another assembly that confirmed confirmed our property tax exempt status by the Rhode Island legislature for the education of youth. And in 1925, which was the same year we moved to this new site up on Academy Avenue, Smith Street, in 1925, our nonprofit tax exempt status, property tax exempt status, was clarified and confirmed again by special act of legislature when LaSalle moved from downtown to here. And if you have any questions about those acts, I'd be happy to answer them at any point or at the end, however you want to do this. There are also two other documents, pages 7 to 14, or 7 to 14. I kind of tossed in just to for your edification. It's one is the State of Rhode Island Office of the Secretary of State. It's our annual filing of the nonprofit corporation with the State of Rhode Island. And the second document, page 10, is a document from the IRS that affirms that we are a 501c3 organization and exempt from federal income tax. And it's under a group ruling of the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops. And any Catholic ministry, hospital, school, social service agency listed in the official Catholic directory, which you'll see referenced on page 12 and 13, is automatically covered by what is referred to as the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops group ruling by the IRS in 1946. And so that really is, I'm trying to just establish the foundation from the very beginning of our time in the opening of the school until now. We have been a tax-exempt entity, a school. And the last page that I have attached to the document is a little bit of a community impact document for Providence. As you can see there, we have 208 students from Providence. The cost per pupil in the public schools is $18,992, and so we figure we're probably saving the city practically $4 million. Underneath of that, there's a little information about tuition assistance, and currently, again, the tuition assistance for our high school students is that 48% of them are on tuition assistance. Comes to about $3.9 million annually, which we have to raise beyond tuition. It's also a lot of fundraising, and the average, again, tuition assistance is about $6,200. The next line is really about Providence. There are 117 students from Providence who receive tuition assistance. There are currently 208 students who are here from Providence, and 117 of them received tuition assistance, which comes to about $1 million, just a little over $1 million.
If I may, excuse me, brother, if I may, just only in the interest of time. We have everything in front of us.
Oh, beautiful.
I'd like to get to questions so that we get them fully answered, you know, because I think that's the gist of the hearing right now, what's before us. So I'm going to ask for questions. You have everything in front of you. We have it also. I just want to get to the questions so that we can move this. So if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's very okay with me.
I can't hear you.
It's very okay with me.
Okay, that's fine. First question, Representative Kazarian.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, brother, for coming to testify in front of us today. I just wanted to make a mention and I guess just run it by you. I'm actually a graduate of St. Mary's Academy Bayview in East Providence, and I believe we passed very similar legislation for Bayview, including many other parochial schools throughout Rhode Island. I believe this is similar, correct? Okay, wonderful. So I'm glad that we'd be pulling LaSalle Academy into those same purviews that we have for other parochial schools. Thank you.
On the record, that's correct, Chairman Ho. Representative Morales.
Brother, thank you again for coming out to testify. I really do appreciate it. Now, according to state law, religious institutions are exempt from taxes for their first 5 acres of land, while academic institutions are exempt from taxes for their first acre of land. Therefore, LaSalle Academy owns 20 acres of land that can legally be taxed, which this bill would exempt. So my question of clarity is, why does an institution with an annual tuition of over $14,000 and 20 acres of legally taxable land need an exemption from taxation?
Because whatever money the money that would go towards your taxes they would not be available for students who need the tuition assistance. It's just as simple as that. And we are providing an incredible amount of service to the city and the programs that we run, and maybe we spend about $500,000 a year on 50 different vendors. So, you know, there's just you would end up hurting a lot of poor kids in the city.
I would disagree with that, given that less than 210 students from Providence actually attend LaSalle Academy. But moving forward, of the 15-plus students that attend LaSalle Academy, how many of them are from the Mount Pleasant or Elmhurst neighborhood where the school is located?
Oh, a good number of them. They walk or take the bus. I couldn't give you an exact number, but you know, we have certainly a number of children from around this area.
Okay. How many students of color are enrolled at LaSalle Academy?
Well, let's see. A number. You figure if we have, I can't do the math real quick, but we have 1,500 kids, and 25% of them are young people of color. So I'm not a math teacher, so somebody help me out. It's 25% of 1,500.
Financial advisor when you need it.
375.
Okay, thank you.
So just for the record, 375 students out of 1,500. And just moving forward again, is there a resolution from the City of Providence in support of this?
I have no idea.
No.
Just my last question. Would this tax exemption, if enacted, include any future land that LaSalle Academy purchases?
We have no intention of purchasing property as of this time.
I understand the difference between intention and then it actually happening in practice. So my question is, if it were to happen in practice, would that additional land that is purchased be exempt from taxation?
I would say it can be, but that remains to be seen. We have plenty of property right here. You know, I don't see us growing beyond, the boundary.
And thank you, Representative Morales. And for the people that are watching, 2 little nice brown children walked to LaSalle from Mount Pleasant, and they were my children. So just to let you know, they do have children from the inner city that have been rescued, I will tell you that, in the way the Providence school system is right now, in the predicament that it's at. And I say that on purpose because the money that they do give out does help a lot of these children, inner city children. And I'm not ashamed to go on record to say that, Representative. I know this is in your district. And I am a graduate from LaSalle, so that everybody knows where I'm coming from. But I know what LaSalle did for me and where I'm at today. And I'm proud to say they did a hell of a job in putting me where I'm at right now. Thank you, Representative Morales.
Yeah, no, if I may, you're completely correct, Representative Hull, Chairman Hull, as you are here today. I do want to again raise the point that is unfortunately only a handful of students. I mean, less than 210 students from Providence have the privilege to go to this school. And I just want to note that in the city of Providence, about 40% of our land is exempt from taxation, which forces property taxes to constantly increase and put the burden on working people and middle-class homeowners. Therefore, I personally think it's wrong for LaSalle Academy, an institution with endowments worth more than $12 million, to receive tax exemption status, as they have more than enough revenue to pay their fair share if the city were to ever tax them, which they currently have not been doing.
Thank you.
Representative Morales, I would say to you two things. One is, most of the money that we have in endowments are designated. These are designated endowments restricted for tuition assistance, given by families, given by classes that have graduated, given by benefactors. I think people have this impression we're this great white wealthy school. We are anything but this. And it's tough to get over, the biases that some people have. But I tell you, without in this school, any wealth that we have is restricted. The great majority of it is restricted for tuition assistance for young people. And our endowments are for this specific purpose. So it's not like we're sitting on, pots of gold up here. And the other thing I would say to you is we believe LaSalle is entitled, under equal protection of the laws, to have its property tax exempt status confirmed, just like all of the other schools and nonprofits listed in the Rhode Island, property subject to taxation exemption statute, and their property tax exempt confirmed. So it's like, I tell you this: if you can get every nonprofit in the city, it's like we deserve to be treated as others are being treated, and also what we are creating is not only value, but we're creating a good for the city, for the community, for the state, and for these young people's families.
Thank you, Chairman.
Representative Kazarian, we'll get back to you.
I want to just acknowledge that I think Representative Morales had some excellent questions. And I think I can answer some of these. For a school like LaSalle, it's similar to a school like the school I was fortunate enough to go to, Bayview. The tuitions are much lower than a lot of the other schools, private schools, and they're able to do this through an incredible amount of fundraising that the schools will do, but also because they do put a lot of money towards tuition assistance. I'll use my family as an example. We're a middle-class family, lower middle-class family. We could not afford any of those private schools. My parents thought it would be a better fit for us to go to an all-girls education, but we couldn't afford it. Bayview was the only option that we had. So, while $14,000 is a lot of money for tuition, we talk about schools like Moses Brown. That's $37,000, close to $40,000 a year for one child. And that's also a tax-exempt school. So when we look at these parochial schools, no?
They're not, under the statute, they're not.
Okay, well, let me just, so to finish this point, with these parochial schools, they do add a lot to the community. They do a lot of outreach and trying to make sure that they're having as diverse as they can classroom. Again, the tuitions are a lot lower than a lot of the other private schools. And I also think, as far as this statute, again, we have all these other parochial schools that are not being taxed. I don't think it's fair that we would leave LaSalle out of that. And the last thing I want to say is, you are right. Providence, 40% of you say 40% of the different land is not being taxed, or the schools aren't being taxed. One of that includes Brown University, and their endowment is $4.7 billion and counting. That's a problem. Those are the types of huge institutions, which I don't even know if we can call them institutions, more like corporations, that I think we should be looking into, and I think we should be going after for tax money. You know, you talk about, I can't even guess how many buildings that Brown University has, and every time I turn around, another building in Providence is being taken by Brown and built and being used again, you know, for their schools, which is great, but their tuition is now close to $80,000 a year per student. So I think those are the institutions, or you want to call them corporations, we should be looking at. Schools like LaSalle are smaller. They do contribute to the neighborhood, similar to what Chairman Hull said, and I don't think that they're the ones that we should be going after. So I hope I helped to answer some of your questions. I hope that helped to clarify a little bit.
Representative Morales.
Thank you. So just a point of clarity, in the statute, currently only 3 schools are embedded in there that we are referencing. Therefore, there is no sign of mistreatment or unfairness if LaSalle were to be excluded. Again, it is only 3 schools. And I do not disagree. I believe Brown University should also be taxed.
Representative, thank you, Representative. I just want to say one last thing before we go to the callers. LaSalle Academy is an anchor in that Mount Pleasant in your district. It's a fine, fine anchor. That stability means something for the city of Providence, that keeps people here. This is nothing new. This is just a transfer from the diocese to the school. To the school. Catholic institution from one to the other. It's no add-on. It's just getting them in line with other institutions. If we were going to expand or take away something from the city of Providence, I would probably say, oh, hang on. I understand the tax problem that the city has, but there's not a change here. They're just changing it from the diocese to the Christian Brothers. But I do understand that LaSalle Academy is an anchor for Mount Pleasant neighborhood, and it's an anchor for the state of Rhode Island, for the people that it produced, the young kids that produced out of that school, into the community. With that said, I will go to the caller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. O'Rourke.
Mr. O'Rourke, are you there? Mr. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Oh, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you. Hello, and thank you for recognizing my testimony. My name is John O'Rourke. My wife and I purchased our home at 216 Jastram Street in Providence, 2 houses from Smith Street and 2 blocks from LaSalle Academy 27 years ago. We've raised our 4 children in this neighborhood, and all 4 have now graduated from classical high school. Throughout these 27 years, we have looked at LaSalle Academy as an anchor of our community, providing educational and employment opportunities while also generating opportunities for the local businesses in the Elmhurst, Mount Pleasant area. LaSalle maintains and invests in their property, and they have been responsive to neighborhood concerns. LaSalle Academy has been and continues to be an excellent neighbor. And that essentially was what I was asked to testify about.
Thank you. Any questions? We'll move to the next caller. Thank you very much.
All right.
Good afternoon. Who's on the line?
Yes, Aline, yeah.
Good. You have the floor. Your House Municipal Government.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, so LaSalle Academy is a second home for my children. It's a best school ever, a Christian school with the best education and good morale. Yeah, so when my family was not able financially, LaSalle could provide the tuition to my children. I immigrated here 7 years ago, and I'm so proud to be a mother of LaSallians. because my children are making difference in the community because of the education they are receiving at La Salle. They are not in drug, they are always home. They stay in after-school programs. Yeah, so they are the best kids. Yeah, because I work for my community also. I work for Women's Refugee Care, and we always fight for our the better future of our children. But because of La Salle, I have hope for my own children. So they are part of the diversity club at La Salle, which help the voices of the black people and the people of color to be heard. The diversity club helps them to have pride to be themselves in America.
Oh.
Yeah, please protect the right of La Salle to be tax exempt because, yeah, so we are very proud. We are from the Congo in Central Africa, and we want to be proud I want to be proud for my kids to be at La Salle because I'm planning to go back to my country in the future, and yeah, we will be proud for my children to be at La Salle because I know they will be helpful, they will be useful for the American society, even for the Congolese society.
Well, thank you very much, Aline, for your testimony, and I'm glad that your kids have enjoyed going to the going to LaSalle Academy. My father
Thank
attended
you.
there too.
Okay, are there any more questions?
Any more questions? No?
Okay, that will conclude
Thank you.
Bill 5586. I thank you. We now will move on to Representative Place.
Representative Place, House Bill 5427, is an act that would authorize fire districts to provide an exemption for fire taxes for volunteer firefighters. Representative Place, you may
Thank you.
take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is not the shortest bill I've introduced this year, but it's pretty close to it. When I sat on the Harrisville Fire District, I was on the committee that was responsible for trying to engage with the community and bring some volunteers in to man our force. A lot of the fire districts are either composed of all volunteers or a combination of both volunteers and professional firefighters, but the volunteers make up the vast majority of the actual firefighters. The professional firefighters usually do the EMS runs and things like that, at least in the districts that I represent. And sitting on the committee for recruitment, one of the things we identified as a potential recruitment tool is to offer the volunteers some form of tax relief. And if I go back and remember correctly, if you go back and look at the Fair Labor Standards Act, one of the few things that a fire district can offer a volunteer as a thank you is some variation of tax relief on their property taxes. You can't pay them beyond a certain measly stipend. Again, you can't put them on the payroll because they're volunteers. You can't offer other types of benefits, but you can give them tax relief. So what this legislation would allow is if a fire district wanted to, it is enabling, if they wanted to, they could offer their volunteers a property tax relief similar to what veterans get now with the majority of municipalities, as well as disabled and seniors.
Okay, thank you, Representative Place. Any questions for Chairwoman Williams?
I think this is a great bill because of the fact that they're volunteering, they're risking their lives. Anything could happen. I have a question with regards to, because they're not entitled to anything else, right?
Generally speaking, no. I mean, the Fair Labor Standards Act is very specific as to what you can and can't offer a person to be a volunteer to maintain that volunteer status.
But they go on the fire, they go on the
Correct.
whatever is called upon them to go to, right?
Correct. They perform the same duties as a professional firefighter in Providence.
And get the training, all that stuff.
Correct.
So do the current firefighters, do they get any exempt for being firefighters, or this is only for the volunteer firefighters?
This is strictly for the volunteers.
Okay, because I don't want it to open up the door where, they're getting it, we're doing the same job, and, blah, 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 blah. So that would be my only concern, that the language would, whatever language would need to go in there, that it would be explicit because of all of what they do, and there's no, other than thank you for saving me or saving my house or what
Correct.
have you, that is what they're going to get back. So that there's no beef later on, is all I'm saying. But it's a good one, I like it.
Thank you.
Representative Speakman?
Representative Place, this applies only to, I represent 2 communities that have volunteer fire departments. This would not apply to those volunteer firefighters because they are municipal fire departments, Bristol and Warren, and not fire districts. So this would not apply to them, is that correct?
As the language is written now, yes. And that could be an error in the drafting.
Okay, all right, well, we'll maybe check into that, and
Yeah.
I'll talk to you about this.
I do know of some that do actually offer this, and I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've sat down with the labor attorney, and I try to stay away from lawyers as much as I can.
I'll check with my 2 chiefs and see what they have.
So I think Bristol may have some variation of this, and I really don't know. I know one district one fire district where I am actually offers something similar already, but I haven't been able to find any enabling legislation to allow
I'll
it.
check with the chiefs, and if there's any need to get back to you, I will.
All right, thank you.
I do believe, if I may add, I do believe one of your chiefs came in a few years back and talked about this. But I would like to see this enabling, because this is really going to be something from, town to town that has fire districts, and in exactly what amount they're going to do. If you're talking about what we do for veterans or seniors, that could be a significant amount of money. And as you know, it takes a certain number of money and X number
Correct.
to run a town. And if they don't, if everybody gets an exemption, somebody's going to pay it. So that's
And
something individually that I think should be enabling
And
legislation.
it is enabling legislation. It's not.
Right, well,
it's not-
it doesn't really say that in here. Well, you're part of the bill, I don't see enabling anywhere. So it just says that any fire district is hereby
Is
authorized.
authorized. It doesn't say may or shall, it does authorize. That was
Hereby
the language
authorized.
for enabling was
It
the,
It
that
should
was
say
the
enabling.
authorization was the key in terms of my interpretation of enabling.
That's my point, okay. Any other questions? With that, hearing none, I close the hearing. Oh, no, excuse me, there is written testimony by Richard Susi of the Rhode Island Association of Fire Chiefs. He is pro, and David Salvador for the Rhode Island Association of Realtors. No testimony, but he supports. And with that, no other witnesses, I will close the hearing on House Bill 5427.
And we're on our
Thank you.
we're on our last bill.
Oh, hi. Oh.
5480 by Representative Tabone, Vice Chair. Second. 80. Correct.
Thank you. Is Representative Tabone in the room?
No, we'll just read it.
Okay. The hearing is open?
Read the bill,
You know
please.
what? I can't find it.
Okay, I'll read
You
it.
do it, thank you.
An act relating to taxation property subject to taxation. Exempt the taxation of real property acquired or leased by the railroad entity and used in the boarding and disembarking of railroad passengers or supporting passenger railroad operations and services.
Sorry, Chairman. Yep, okay.
Any questions?
Is there any testimony?
We have written testimony, Mr. Flaherty, John Flaherty, he's pro, and Mayor Grebier, and he's pro. No other questions?
Nobody on the phone?
Nope,
Okay.
I now conclude 5480. Representative Edwards, I know you're on, and Representative Edwards wants to be marked in the affirmative. Mr. Edwards, I see you just came
That's
on.
correct, Chairman.
On all bills?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the ones that we held also? Because
Yes, yes, please, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And the 2 that we passed out? Yes, we did.
Yes, affirmative on both.
Okay. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Chairman.
Now, don't,
Yeah, read it back to one. There's
Oh.
one more bill. Representative Nardone's bill, House Bill
590.
an act relating to health and safety.
You're all set.
5590, Nardone's bill, an act relating to the health and safety, the Rhode Island Cesspool Act, exempts residential homeowners, I don't see him here, so I'll read this, exempts residential homeowners who have abandoned an on-site system from obtaining a contractor to pump out and to fill in with material as long as the residential homeowner has taken the necessary steps to secure the abandoned on-site system. I don't know if anybody has any questions regarding that bill?
That now concludes 5590. Thank you.
There's no testimony on that.
With that, I welcome a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Chairman.
It's been a long evening. Okay, we're just one little technical error. We just missed one bill, Representative Casey's bill, 5689. 5689, an act relating to school committees and superintendent. It eliminates the exemptions of the current law and gives to Woonsocket regarding compensation to the cities and town school committees. Representative Casey. Representative Casey's not here. Any questions?
Thank you, Representative Chairman Hull. I just want to state for the record that the current structure of the Woonsocket School Committee is 2-year terms without district wards. I know the sponsor is not here today, but my question would have been how this bill would have impacted the structure of Woonsocket's school committee as a result of this.
Thank you, Representative. With that, that concludes
Hearing on House Bill
5689, and we are officially, I asked for a motion to adjourn. This time, we're done. Thank you very much.
We both second.
Oh,